Hey guys, welcome back. I don't really do these videos often, these workshop videos, but I haven't posted anything in a while, and I actually was trying to post a video of a Grand Canyon consist, the Santa Fe's Grand Canyon passenger train consist. However, there were some problems with some of the passenger cars. Um, Basically, I modify all my passenger cars. I make sure that they are in tip-top shape, so they can navigate my tight curves on my layout. Because unfortunately, I don't have extra space, and I do like accurate-looking passenger cars. So, but I tried to use some new passenger cars that I haven't modified yet. And so they kind of always derailed, and so I just gave up posting that video. But anyway, so here's a video, and this is a I'm currently installing DCC sound to the Sunset Brass Santa Fe 19,000 class, or actually 1900 class. Um, as you know, this model is actually very common by PFM United. They made like 8,000 of these engines, so they're very common. But I actually bought a Sunset one too. The PFM United one needs some upgrades. The current gearbox runs like crap. It makes a lot of noise. The tubing is kind of messed up, and the gearbox. The biggest issue is the gearbox has zinc pest on it, so it's starting to crack and crumble. So I need to buy a Northwest Shortline gearbox for that. But I've been trying to hold it off because Northwest Shortline stuff is very expensive, as you know. So in the meantime, I'm just working on the Sunset Brass one. This is my only brass engine that was painted when I bought it, and actually the painting job is actually acceptable as opposed to my New York Central Mohawk. But yeah, so this paint job was actually very acceptable. So I decided I'd just go forward with it and install a TCS WOWsound decoder because I have one spare. Like this. And obviously this has a 21 pin decoder, so I need to actually manually, so what I do is because 21 pins are cheaper, I manually extract each pin to their designated wire, because if you buy the 9 pin version, they cost like 30 bucks more. So this is only 70 bucks, so obviously that's a good deal. So I buy the 21 pin. It takes a little more time to install, but otherwise it's fine. So this is actually one of the rare cases where I actually didn't bother cleaning up all the grease, the disgusting grease in the engine when I first bought it. I kind of just laid it on the track because it ran fine, so I figured it'd be fine. But actually, that was a mistake because this engine was full of grease, and the original owner they painted it like this way, like it didn't remove the wheels while painting. They literally painted with the wheels in, which as a result made the interior of this absolutely disgusting. The bearings, the grease, the axles are all covered in black paint and grease, and so it just resulted in a really disgusting concoction. So I actually last night I spent a whole like 4 hours taking apart everything, and basically using isopropyl alcohol. So this is 91%, and this is 70% over here. And I use this because this won't damage paint. This will. So I use this on like the wheels, for example, but I use this on like the outside of the wheels, which are painted. But I basically removed all the grease. I took apart this gearbox, which is a really nice gearbox, by the way. This is a Sunset model, so these run really well. Came with a Mashima can motor, as you can see there. Camera focus. There you go. So this runs really well, but the gearbox was also a complete mess. So I took that apart. I used dish soap and a toothbrush to clean that all out. And yeah, so and then I added some fresh Bachmann grease and some light gear oil, which I have over there. And yeah, so now it runs a lot better. Well, actually, it doesn't really run better, but it's just good to know that all the old grease and the black paint and whatever is all gone. And so maybe you can't really tell there's a big difference in running characteristics. I do know that all the dirt is gone, so it runs a bit freer. Like the motor draws less current because there's less grease holding all the wheels back, and also that it won't wear the bearings out faster because dirty grease will do that. So yeah, anyway, so besides that, I cleaned all this stuff out, so it runs a lot better now. I'm currently in the middle of installing lights. So here's the tender here. As you see, it's not an amazing paint job, but I think it's painted pretty well. At least more than acceptable to my standards. And yeah, I have the camera focus. Will the camera focus? There we go. Yeah, so the decal job isn't amazing, but otherwise, it's fine. So actually, yeah, this part here broke off, so I had to resolder it, which is kind of a pain. But that's fine. I drilled a hole here for the wires. As you can see, it's under this bracket, so it's kind of hard. It's kind of impossible to see from any angle unless if you look very closely. And sorry, I'm doing all this with one hand, so that's the reason it's kind of a pain. But I was originally gonna use these um, JST wire plugs. I got these 6-pin ones, but I ended up not using those because they're kind of hard to pull, and I don't want to actually tug one of the wires out. So I ended up using these TCS micro connectors, which actually are a complete scam. They cost a lot for what they are. They're effectively just these pins. You could get these male pins, the female pins, and if you don't recognize these are actually the pins that the NMRA standard 8-pin connectors used. So that's literally what they use. But obviously these are a bit smaller, so actually what they use is they use the 21-pin connector standard size. So basically they use you see this part here? They basically just cut this up and then they just make little pins out of it. And these pins, so I bought they're currently on order. As you know, right now shipping is very slow. So, but I bought like an entire row similar like this. I bought like 50 row pins for like $2. So I'm gonna be making some of these connectors myself because that's all they really are. And then they obviously use some heat shrink tubing. My camera focus. They use some heat shrink tubing to make it look a little better. But that's all they really are. So I'm gonna make them myself. But right now, I unfortunately don't have it, so I just bought a 2-pin plug-in socket and then a 3-pin plug-in socket. So there's 5 pins total. Um, because brass engines only pick up power from one side. Now, ultimately, I want to. So right, yeah. So brass engines, as you guys know, they pick up power from one side from the engine, and then the other side from the tender. So this engine effectively has 4 pickup points from each side of the track, which is not that great. And ultimately, one day I'd like to add some wipers so it can pick up power from the other side here. But that's a future project because right now I'm just not gonna bother. I think it picks up power fine right now, so but ultimately I'll have to do that so it adds more pickups. But right now I'm just gonna leave it as is. And so what's gonna happen is I only need 5 pins from the engine to tender, so 2 pins for the motor, 2 pins for the light, and then 1 pin for the power pickup. And so right now I have 3 pins right here. I soldered them to the 2 of them to the motor, and then one of them I basically just clamped it underneath the motor mount, which is right here. So that's 3 pins total, and it's gonna come down here, and then it's gonna go through basically that hole that was underneath here, right there. And so yeah, that's pretty much done. I still need to do the wiring for the tender, obviously. I actually made a little, I scraped a little paint off here so I could get a pickup from the tender there. I'll just solder a wire to that. But that's that for now. In the meantime, I'm also adding lights to here. So originally the engine had, sorry for the camera, shaky camera by the way, but originally I had these jewels. Let me see if I could get a good shot of them. Yeah, so they had these jewels, which I mean obviously look very fake. Looks very weird. And it was kind of interesting. The original owner, they kind of just they put like some sticky tack or putty. They shoved it all inside the headlight, and then they put the jewel and stuck it on. So I removed the jewel. I removed all the putty, which is kind of a pain. And then I drilled 4 holes total. So I drilled 1 hole in through the headlight, and then 1 hole through the front of the engine. As you can see, there's a little dent here. And basically, so the wires for the headlight will come out of the headlight, and then through the hole. And I did the same for the tender. As you can see right here, I don't really like drilling holes through brass. I feel it's very. I don't want to scratch with the paint, and also I don't want to damage the brass. I don't want the headlight to just break off, which is honestly not that hard to fix. You just solder it. But soldering a painted brass engine is a pain because you got to remove the paint, which I really don't want to do. So you can see I have the hole coming out of the rear of the headlight housing, and then through the base of the tender, the top of the tender. And for lights, I'm just using SMD lights. I bought these at Richmond lights or something like that. These are very expensive. I actually found a much better deal on eBay. You get like 10 of them for like $5 or something like that. I don't remember the price, but I remember these were outrageous. This was like, it was like maybe like $5 per light bulb. whereas the eBay ones are like like 10 lights for $5, which is insane. So obviously I'm eventually gonna switch that, but I still have some of these left from a long time ago. So I figured I'd use these. And as you can see, they're very small lights. Here's the other one. They're absolutely tiny. They're SMD lights. Yeah, they're that big, and they're very bright too. So um, yeah, you can see one. You can see that I glued one already. So I glued this last night. So you can see some glue there. I obviously drilled it out here. So and you could just barely see the headlight inside there, the little yellow dot in the center there. So yeah, this is nice and glued. I'm gonna put some putty on the rear of this headlight housing so to cover the hole up. So when you have the headlight on, it doesn't shine through the hole in the rear. But yeah, it's not a big deal. And now obviously I need to ultimately paint up all the areas like drilled holes in to cover up the bare brass. But yeah, so currently I'm adding headlights. And then once this is done, once I wire these through a resistor and then through the second connector, which is right here. Once I wire them through here, the engine will be done. I can put it back together, and then I'll be working on the tender, which is where I'm going to have all the wires come in and then wire it up to this decoder, hopefully. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Currently, I'm still working on the headlights, as you can see, and hopefully I can get this project done before I leave. I need to put everything together, and then I need to I also have a speaker here. So yeah, that's actually another pain. I really don't like drilling holes through the brass. And unfortunately, this tender didn't come with a pre-drilled speaker hole. So I marked. My camera's really struggling today. I marked the basically where the speaker will be. This is just a very basic 20 millimeter speaker. I could use a better one. I have this like uh, really special one here, but I'm not using that one. I don't think it's a big deal. But so I'm using this one. I don't have a speaker housing for it. I think I have some spare soundtracks speaker enclosures. I don't know if I'll use one. I might. It's not honestly. I haven't found a big deal. TCS sound really sounds great with a speaker housing or without. So honestly, I don't really know if I'm gonna add one anyways. But if I do, it's not a big deal. It just adds a little more space. But I need to drill some holes out here. I gotta make sure I don't drill through and break this brake detail part off, and I also gotta make sure I don't drill too much to the edge because obviously the shell has a bit of a bezel or border, so I want to make sure that it fits properly. But that should be pretty easy. Hopefully I can finish that soon. I don't need too many holes here, but yeah, that's pretty much it. And then I have the decoder, and then I'm gonna also add a keep alive circuit. As you know, I don't like paying for the keep alives. They're outrageously priced. They're just effectively some capacitors. So I don't know if you saw my K4 video, my Bachman K4, but basically I have some of these capacitors. These are 5.5 volt 1 farad. So I wire 3 of them in series and it gives me 16.5 volts, if my math is correct. Yeah, you wire 3 of those in series. It doesn't take too much space. And I'm going to have the speaker here. I'm going to have the decoder on top. I'm going to have the capacitor thing up here. So it should be nice and cozy sitting inside this tender. One nice thing about these tenders is Santa Fe tenders in general is because they're very big. with the oil bunker, I guess you could call. These tenders are very square and very big, so there's quite a bit of space inside this. Hopefully, like, everything can fit. I might not be able to fit a speaker enclosure actually on second thought. But anyways, we'll see how it goes. But there's quite a bit of space in here, so hopefully the installation isn't that bad. And yeah, so hopefully I get a video of it running. Hopefully you'll see a video of it running with sound in a few days. But in the meantime, this is where it's at currently. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. This is my first time installing DCC to a brass engine. I've modified, like, I've bought some other brass engines that had very poor DCC installations. So I've obviously had to modify other people's work to make it a lot better. So I guess I've had some experience with like DCC or wiring and brass engines, but I've never done a full start to finish installation myself. I've only picked up where other people have kind of stopped. And so, yeah, it's pretty exciting for me. I think this is going pretty well. It's also a pretty friendly installation for this. Like, it's a pretty friendly beginner's project because I have quite a bit of space and everything's already pretty much, like like it's a CAN motor and everything already. So there's not much to do in that case. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's going pretty well. But we'll see. Hopefully nothing goes wrong. Fingers crossed. So, anyways, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.